my class of managerial economics. In this today's lecture, we will talk about the basic principles and concepts of managerial economics. So, before starting this, let us discuss the background. There are various objectives of a business. A firm wants to maximize the profit or maximize the sales or increase the customer satisfaction or to grow at some rate. So, to obtain or to achieve these objectives, the managers have to take decisions, and the decisions would be based on some rules of thumb or some sophisticated methods of analysis. So, for taking these decisions, these managers would be relying on some basic fundamental principles of economics, which is actually the body of the economics. So, the subject economics is made up of fundamental principles and concepts which are to be used by the managers in the management decision making, then it becomes the managerial economics. So, let us start those principles. As I said, these principles, they offer a variety of concepts which are to be used in the decision making, and the various decisions involved in economics or in business are related to production or sales or advertising problems or to maximize the profit or to obtain the optimum allocation of the resources. So, for that they would be relying on these concepts and principles, which is the framework of this subject. So, the basic principles of economics are opportunity cost principle, scarcity principle, concept of marginal or incremental cost or revenues, about the discounting principle, about the time perspective, and the equimarginal principle, and the utility analysis. So, these are the basic, the core concepts which are in economics, which are in managerial economics, which we will be going through in this particular lecture, so that we should be able to use these concepts in various decision makings at various points of times. So, I would be talking about the uses of these particular concepts, how the concepts are and how the concepts can be used by the managerial economist, because at some point of time in decision making for any kind of manager, maybe HR, marketing or into any other area, they would be relying on these basic concepts of the economics. So, now we will start with the marginal principle. This marginal principle is also called as the marginality. The meaning of marginal is the change. It is a change in total quantity or value of a variable, maybe economic variable or a financial variable or any kind of variable due to change in one unit in its determinant. So, when a variable is changing and we want to know the change in the variable and why the variable is changed by changing one unit of its determinant, then that concept is called as marginal. This marginal concept can be used in any analysis, it can be used in the cost analysis, it can be used in pricing analysis as well as in the consumption analysis. When we use in cost analysis, it is called as marginal cost. When we use it in the pricing analysis, it is called marginal revenue. When we use it in the sense of the consumption analysis, it is called as marginal utility. This is a very prominent concept because it relates the change, and we can analyze the change, why the change is and how much the change is the change is useful or not. So, this marginal analysis is to judge the impact, how the impact is, whether it is a positive impact or it is a negative impact due to the variable. So, in this concept we want to know whether we want to maximize something or we want to minimize something. Basically, the marginal concept is used in the problems of maximization or minimization. For example, maximization of sales, when we want to maximize the sales. So, we want to maximize the total revenue and we want to know how the revenue is changing on selling one more unit. So, then we will be using the concept of marginal revenue. The concepts which are involved with this marginal concept is marginal revenue and marginal cost. Marginal revenue is related to the change in the total revenue and the marginal cost is related to the change in the total cost, and these two concepts are not analyzed individually, they are analyzed in relation to each other, because we are not only interested in cost, but we are also interested in the revenues. So, let us see how the concept is, how marginal cost and marginal revenues are being calculated. So, this is the formula to calculate marginal cost. The formula is marginal cost is equals to total cost at n minus total cost at n minus 1 unit. Here n is the number of units produced, and n minus 1 is the total number of units which were earlier produced. So, when we have increased the production, so we want to know how the total cost has changed. So, this is the total cost when we were producing 100 units, and this is the total cost when we were producing 101 unit. Suppose there was a total cost of 1000 rupees when we were producing 100 units, but later on when we have produced 101 units, the total cost has changed to 1050. So, now for a rational manager, for anybody who is taking a rational decision, he would be interested in knowing that how much is this change. So, we can say there is a change of 50 rupees on changing the volume of production by 1. So, when the manager has increased the output by 1 unit, the total cost has increased by rupees 50. So, the what is the here what is the marginal cost? Marginal cost here it is equals to 50 rupees by applying the same formula, total cost at n units minus total cost at n minus 1 units. Similarly, when this concept is used in pricing theory, then we are interested in knowing the change in the total revenue. TR is the total revenue, and TR at n, this is the TR at n, and this is TR at n minus 1 units. For example, when there is sale of 100 units, in case of sale of 100 unit, the revenues was 20,000 rupees. This is the total revenue. Earlier it was the total cost. So, when there was sale of 100 units, the revenue was 20,000 rupees. When there is additional sale of 101 units, the revenue has changed. Suppose it has changed by 20,100 rupees. So, one can see what is the change. There is a change of 100 rupees. So, 100 rupees has increased in total revenue. So, this increase in total revenue on increasing the sale by 1 unit is called as the marginal revenue, as the formula says so. Alternatively, we can also calculate the marginal cost as, marginal cost can also be calculated as taking a differential of total cost by the unit by Q. And similarly, marginal revenue can also be calculated as taking the first differentiative of TR with respect to the number of units. So, this is how the derivative function can also be applied if the total cost and total revenues are given in the form of functions. For example, the total revenue and total cost, if they are given in the form of curves, then we can calculate the slope to find out the marginal cost and the marginal revenue. Then after calculating this, we have to analyze, we have to take a decision. So, let us see what is the process of implementing of this marginal principle. So, one has to calculate the marginal revenue as per the method I have suggested, and then we can calculate the marginal cost as per the same method. The marginal cost is equals to total cost at n minus total cost at n minus 1, and then we compare the marginal revenue and the marginal cost. For for a normal decision making, we can say the total revenue, sorry, the marginal revenue should be greater than the marginal cost. So, a rational producer should increase the production up to the output when the marginal revenue is greater than the marginal cost. This is a profit making situation for a firm. But then also we can say that what is the profit, what is the output where there would be the maximum profit, because the objective of the firm is to maximize the profit. So, when there is a objective of maximization of profit, then the decision rule is applied as a business decision should be carried on as long as the marginal revenue is greater than the marginal cost. So, one has to compare these two things and can increase the output or can operate the business up to the condition where MR is greater than the MC. And to find out the output at which there is maximum profit, one can use this situation. This is the condition of profit maximization. This is called as the condition of the profit maximization, where the marginal cost is equals to the marginal revenue. It means the output where these two things are equal, that output is called as the output which is giving the maximum profit, or it should be the optimum output. This concept is used in case of the pricing decisions when we want to know as how much a seller should produce to get the maximum profit in the business. So, then this concept is used as this graph says that if this is the marginal revenue and this is the marginal cost. So, the point where MR is equals to MC, this is the point, this is giving the, this is the output. So, this is the optimum, this is the optimum output at which the firm should produce. This is the optimum output where the maximum profits are, and if we take revenue and cost on this axis. So, there are 2 points, point number A and point number B. At both the points we have the same situation where MR is equals to MC, but we have to take that point where MC is intersecting, marginal cost is intersecting MR from below. This is the condition which has to be used, means when we will be calculating the optimum output in further decision making, we have to apply the same concept. This concept is widely used by the economists in the economic analysis, but this concept has limitations as well. So, let us discuss what are the limitations. The limitation number 1 is when when the data is of such nature that it is not we cannot calculate it in number of change in the total cost and total revenue by per unit, when the total data is available related to the cost and the revenue. Because what happens is a firm is when a firm is taking a decision, the change in revenue and cost is not reflected as change in revenue and cost by 1 unit. It is generally reflected in bulk, means due to the bulk change in the volume of the production. And whenever there is a change in fixed cost and variable cost also, then also we cannot, means we will not be able to apply this concept. So, it means this concept can be applicable when we have the data related to change in the total variable or the change in the variable by per unit, and when the data is of such nature that there is a change in the variable cost. And this concept is more useful when we want to know the impact precisely, but in general this concept is generally used for pricing decisions. So, there is another concept which is called as incremental principle, which is similar to the marginal principle, where we have calculated the change due to particular unit by 1 unit, but here we are interested in knowing the change, the total change in a variable by changing or by taking new decisions. Because in business what happens is that there is a change in the total production or in the total sales, and which is in bulk. So, because of this change in the production in bulk and change in the sales in bulk, this kind of data per unit is generally not available, and this change, when a business is taking some decision, this change is reflected not only in its variable cost, but also in its fixed cost. So, then the manager use this concept that is called as the incremental principle. So, the incremental principle says that it is the change in the total cost or total revenue due to the business decision. So, when a business decision is taken and there is a change in the total cost, that change in total cost is actually called as the change, or we can say increase in total cost is called as the incremental cost. And when there is increase in the total revenue, that increase in total revenue is called as incremental revenue. One can think like there can be a question that if there is a decrease in the total cost, then what would be the name of this concept? Then we will say it is a decremental cost. In case of decrease, it is called as decremental cost. In case of decrease in total revenue, it is called as decremental revenue, but generally it is associated with the term called as incremental analysis. So, when this particular concept is applied and when we have to take decision, when this is profitable decision, when it would be profitable, when there is means that the total revenues and there is incremental revenue greater than the incremental cost. If the revenues are more, the change in the revenues are more than the change in cost. So, clearly it is visible that the option is profitable. When there is decrease in the cost, in case of decrease in cost and this decrease becomes the profitable. And when there is increase in the revenue, if the revenues are increasing, we will say it is a profitable option. And when it reduce the cost, means there is reduction in the cost as compared to the increase in the revenue. When both the things are changing, but there is a decrease in cost, then also we will say that the option is the profitable option and we can go forward for this option. For example, when a firm, for example, let us see how the decision is taken. A decision is accepted in case there is greater incremental revenue as compared to the incremental cost. For example, when we are installing a new plant, a firm has an increase in the cost and the revenues. A firm has started a new plant and then there would be the change in the cost and the revenues, there would be the changes in both the concepts. Then these concepts, like if we calculate the change in the total cost, for example, in our case the change in the total cost is rupees 15 million and the change in total revenue, it is equals to the rupees 20 million. So, this increase in total cost is called as incremental cost and increase in the total revenue is called as the incremental revenue. Now, if we compare what is happening there, the change in the revenue, we can say clearly see the change in the revenue is greater than the change in the cost. It means this option to start a new plant, to install a new plant is clearly a right one. We should accept this decision. Why? Because this is the condition. So, what is the decision rule here? The decision rule here is that incremental revenue should be greater than the incremental cost. And let us discuss another example where there is a new order is estimated to bring an additional revenue of rupees 10,000. It means the incremental revenue is 10,000 rupees and the cost associated with this are that labor is for rupees 3,000. This is the data regarding the cost. And when we add on this data, the labor 3000 plus 4000 plus 3600 plus 1400. So, we come to know that the change in total cost is rupees 12,000. So, the incremental cost is 12,000 rupees. So, if we compare the what we compare, we will compare the incremental, revenue and the incremental cost. So, this is the incremental cost and when we compare, we come to know that the incremental cost is greater than the incremental revenue. So, this option is not profitable because the decision rule says that incremental revenue should be greater than the incremental cost. So, there would be a loss of rupees 2,000. Then let us discuss another caselet for this particular incremental principle. Here there is a order which is adding 1000 rupees to overhead charges, 2000 by way of labor cost, and there are some idle workers which are already there deployed and there is no extra selling and administrative cost, but there is change in the labor cost 2000, material cost the change is 4000 and for overhead charges it is rupees 1000. So, the total incremental cost if we add on, we come to know the incremental cost here is 7,000 rupees. And what is the incremental revenue? Incremental revenue is, it is the there is a profit of 3,000 rupees. So, then we will say that it is a profitable option. Then there is another concept which is called as opportunity cost principle, and opportunity cost principle is based on the concept of scarcity, and economics is based on the concept of the scarcity where the resources are limited, but the needs and wants are unlimited. So, because of this problem, the resources are to be deployed in a best possible manner, so that there should be maximum profit, there should be maximum gain, or it should be optimum allocation of the resources. So, because of the alternative choices to satisfy the needs and wants, the resources have to be deployed, and when the resources are to be deployed, one has to decide among the alternatives. He has to decide which alternative is best for him. So, then there is a concept which can be used in the analysis of alternatives, which is called as opportunity cost principle. As the name suggests, opportunity cost, but it measures the loss in the revenue. It do not measure the loss in the cost, but it measures the loss in the revenues. That is why it becomes the cost. So, this basic concept is related to choice, and it is only applicable in case when we have at least two alternatives, then only we can be able to calculate the opportunity cost. So, the concept of opportunity cost is related to the alternative use of resources. It is, what is the meaning? Let us discuss. It is the foregone benefit which one would have been derived by an option not chosen. What does it mean? It means when we have two option, at least two option. So, we must have used only option 1. So, there would be the losing of option number 2. When we are losing option number 2, so we are also losing the returns associated with option number 2, and that return which we are losing on losing the option number 2, that return is called as the opportunity cost. So, opportunity cost is the income, it is a profit which we have foregone on losing the second best alternative, or we can also say it is the income which we have foregone, or the returns which we have foregone on selecting the best alternative, because a rational person, manager, would accept that decision which is having the best results, and that alternative is called as the best alternative. So, it is the potential benefit the investor, the individual or the business which has missed out. So, when it has missed out, it has not been received, that is why it has become the opportunity which has been lost, and that is why it is called as a cost which has been there, means the return which we have foregone, which we have lost. So, how the opportunity cost is analyzed? The opportunity cost is analyzed by actual earning, and it is compared with the actual earning from a decision, because when we have two decisions to select, decision 1 and 2. So, when we have selected decision 1, and so the actual earning from this decision 1 would be the actual earning from this decision, and the opportunity cost would be the income foregone. So, the economic gain is actually calculated for a particular decision. The economic gain should be positive, then only a decision has to be accepted. This is the decision rule for using the opportunity cost principle, that there should be economic gain, which is used by the economist in decision making. So, the decision rule, as I have said, that decision rule is the actual earning should be greater than the opportunity cost. And if we see the example, if there is a person which is having a cash in hand rupees 1 lakh rupees, and it is having two alternatives. So, again we have he has two options. Option 1, he can invest in bank and he can get the return, suppose 10,000 rupees per month, and in option number 2, he can get the return which is 17,000 per month. So, on the face of it, we can say that option number 2 is very profitable, and it is profitable by 7,000. So, we can say that how much is the economic gain of this option? the economic gain of this option can be calculated as 7,000 rupees. Then what is the opportunity cost of using this option? The opportunity cost of using this option is rupees 10,000 per month, because on choosing option number 2, he is going to lose the returns from option number 1. That is why it is called as the opportunity cost, because here this return is being lost. So, this is the opportunity cost of this particular decision. Where this concept opportunity cost is used? It is used for determining the relative prices of different goods, and it is also used in determining the normal remuneration to factor of production. It helps in proper allocation of the factor of resources. It means that opportunity cost principle is not only applied in case of economic decision making or in case of financial decision making, but it is also applied in case of marketing, HR, labor, etc. For example, if the firm has two options to fire a labor manager, or to under the influence of the demand of labor union, or to go into the court. So, there would be some returns associated with these two options. So, then the manager has to compare which return is greater to him, and then he can find out which option is best to him. So, losing the second best alternative would become his opportunity cost. So, this is how this concept is being used in economic decision making. So, the books which I have referred is by D.N. Trivedi and by Geetika Ghosh and Purva Roy Chaudhary. Let us revise what we have talked. We have discussed here the three concepts, the three fundamental principles. One is the incremental principle, which is the change in total cost or total revenue. We have also talked about the marginal concept, which is the change in the total cost or total revenue by changing one unit of production, and we have also discussed the opportunity cost principle, which is the income which we have foregone. Like if I ask you when is the opportunity cost is 0, so the opportunity cost would be 0 when the two alternatives are providing us the same returns. And if I ask you what is the difference between incremental cost and marginal cost, so we will say that incremental cost is associated with the total change, and the marginal cost is associated with change A by 1 unit. So, this is how these three concepts are being used by the managers in the economic analysis, and why these are used to make a rational decision, to maximize the profits, to maximize the sales, or to maximize the growth of the business. So, this is how these concepts are being used by the managers, and these are the core concepts which are used by the economist. So, with these words I would like to see you off from this lecture. Stay safe and be healthy. Thank you.